Hello and welcome again, static students. Today we're going to be doing another Truss problem. We're going to be doing it using the method of sections. Now we're going to be looking for DE, HK, and KL. Now the method of sections is actually a very useful technique. It helps us by basically not wasting our time doing joints. Joints are very important, but when we're looking for certain members, like in this case, we're looking for DE and HK and KL. We don't want to waste time doing joint by joint. Okay, so now let's go ahead. I'm just going to highlight that for you guys. So we have our DE, KH, and KL. Now we're going to go ahead and cut that truss. Boom, right there. Now you have a choice on picking the left or the right side. Now it comes down to what's easiest for us. If you notice on both sides, you're going to have two forces, right? But I think the left side's a little more complicated because we have a pin, right? And we have this component up here. So because we're engineers, we want to pick the easiest for us, and that's going to be our right side. Okay, so we already decided that it's going to be our left side. So let me just go ahead and erase this a little bit. Okay, so now that we know that we're going to pick this side, let's go ahead and find that BY, our roller. Remember, it's just one force, it's a Y force. So we're going to start off by we're going to solve it by using the moment. So we're going to do moment at A. Okay, we're going to have the 6, and we're going to have the Y component is going to have a distance of 36. And we're going to call clockwise positive and counterclockwise negative. Okay? Then we have our 6, and we're going to have our X component. This will be a distance of 18. We have our 4 kips, and that's going to be a distance of 45. And finally, we have our BY, and that's a distance of 72. So let's go ahead and plug that into our calculators. And we should get 5.8 kips. And that's going to be pointing up. Good. Now we want to redraw our free body diagram. Now that we know that it's cut, that truss is cut. Okay. We have our BY. We have our 4 kips. Now these members, the DE, the KH, and the KL, you want to always draw those pointing out. You want those in tension. Every time you cut something, you cut a truss, those members are always going to be in tension until we actually find what they really are. And that, you should know by now that our math is going to tell us that. Okay, there you go. Now let's start off with, if you notice, we have 3 Y forces. We actually have just one unknown, so we can go ahead and solve for that. Sum of forces in the Y is equal to 0. We have our negative 4 kips plus our BY minus our KH. Now that angle is going to be actually just 45. Okay, so KH, and it's going to be sine, is equal to 0. KH, let's rearrange the whole problem, and it's going to be BY minus 4 is sine divided by sine of 45. Go ahead and plug that into your calculator. You should get 2.4, you should get 2.545 kips, and that was positive, so it was in tension. Beautiful. So we didn't have to actually change the direction. It was actually right. Okay. Now, can we do sum of forces in the X? Well, unfortunately, we cannot because we actually have 2 unknowns in the X direction. So we have to take a moment. And we have to pick a moment that's going to cancel one of these out, whether it's the EDE or the KL. So I want to cancel my KL. And I'm actually going to pick a moment point that's actually not here. It's going to be out here somewhere. And let's look at the bigger picture. It's actually going to be my K. That's where I want to take a moment. So let's do this. We'll do moment at K is equal to 0. So we're going to have our DE, right? That distance, that height is 18, and it's going to be negative because it's kind of going to be counterclockwise. I'm going to say it's negative. My clockwise is going to be positive. Okay, we're going to have our 4 times that distance is 9, and that's actually going to make it go clockwise. So I'm going to call that plus. And finally, our BY times 36 because we need that X distance. Okay, so let's go ahead and just solve for DE. DE is going to be 4, 9 minus our BY 36 over the 18. Okay. Let's go get and solve that, plug it into your calculator. And you should get a negative answer, but we're going to change it to a positive. And it's just going to change our direction, which is actually going to be in compression. So what does it tell us? Well, we drew our picture wrong. So let's go ahead and fix that the way we drew it. So it's actually going to look like that. Beautiful. Now we're just left with one unknown, and we can solve that using sum of forces. So let's go ahead and do sum of forces in the X direction. So we have DE, which is positive. We have negative KH, cosine of 45. And I call this negative KL. And we'll see if we got that right. So KL is equal to DE minus KH cosine of 45. And finally, KL is equal to, plug that into your calculator, you should get 7.8 kips, and that was positive, so it stayed in tension. And there you go. We solved the simple method of sections truss problem. Now, this was actually a very easy problem, but some key points that I want to, express and point out to you guys is we can always take a moment outside of this picture, which was the example of taking the moment at K. So my K was actually somewhere over here. So that's something that we can definitely do. We don't have to stay within the picture. That's the beauty of this. Now, another thing is you always want to pick the side that's easier because you don't want to give yourself more work. So that's another thing you should look at in the very beginning. And finally is that, as you can see, if we were to do this using just joints, we would have probably started at joint B, then we would have probably gone to I, then L, then E, then H, then K, and then D. So you could see why the method of sections is so much better in just, it's faster, it's better, and it's basically you have less room for error. As if you were to do it by joints, if you were to mess up somewhere, let's say you messed up an I, then all your members would have been wrong. When you're doing sections, you could probably mess up, but that would just make one of these incorrect, but you would still have an opportunity to get the other ones correct. So it's very recommendable to do these truss problems by sections. It's much easier. Well, guys, I hope that this helped you out, and I hope that you guys have a good day and stay safe.